It has been over 2 years since I made my budget VR PC recommendation video, and it has done surprisingly well on my channel, and I figured being as it has been 2, getting on for 3 years, it's about time I updated that video. So here we are today. I have some more recommendations for PCs that will be perfect for running VR on as cheap a budget as I could possibly find. These recommendations will be on Amazon. I like recommending Amazon because it means that you are protected, you are safe, and I have made sure to check the brands and made sure that they are something I'm happy to recommend to you. I have PCs for both the UK and the US. I have 3 different PCs for both. So we're going to start off with as cheap as you possibly can. Like, we're really pushing what can run VR. But again, I've done all my research to make sure that your VR headset, the games that you play, particularly popular games on Steam that are VR games, will work on these PCs. And I've done a little bit of researching and delving here and there on YouTube. So since the last video, a lot of things have changed. Prices have gone up and down and all over the place. I still get loads of comments on that video from people asking for PC recommendations for their budget or whether something is still available. I figured it was about time to update that video with some new stuff. So 2023, these are my VR PC recommendations. Let's start this off, shall we? We're going to start off with the UK PCs and then we will move on to the US PCs after that. This video actually came about because somebody was asking for a PC recommendation, and then I happened across some of these deals and thought, hang on, these are actually pretty good. I should probably share these with people. All the UK ones are from the same brand. They're from Vibox. We're starting off with the lowest budget. Now we are looking at £554.95. It is a Ryzen 5 4500 processor, an NVIDIA GTX 1650 Super 4GB graphics card, 16GB of RAM, 480GB SSD, Windows 11, Wi-Fi, all that stuff. What we're looking at here is what I would deem as probably one of the cheapest brand new PCs you can buy that will run VR. I wasn't sure necessarily whether a 1650 Super could run VR. I wasn't entirely sure. I haven't got one to test. But handily, I found a YouTube video, which I'm going to now promote because he deserves the promotion because he's helped me, from a guy called Colesy. I will put a link if you want to check this video out, where he actually looks at whether a GTX 1650 will run VR games. And he goes through a bunch of games in his video, and surprisingly, as if you're willing to dial back the graphics in some of these games, then you seem to have a good experience. At least from his video, that's what it seems. So yes, if you want to check that out, this is actually a 1650 Super rather than a 1650, but roughly they're about the same. The 1650 Super should be better. It's got Super after it. After doing my research, happy to recommend that will run VR. It will run Steam VR games that you want to play on your VR headset for £555.95. Now, in terms of storage, it only has the 480GB SSD, which I have selected that one purely because that keeps the price down, but there is actually an option for a terabyte SSD, which costs you $589.95, which is much more reasonable amount of storage, I guess, but that is up to you whether that fits your budget or whether you want to just buy the 480GB SSD and then maybe add some storage yourself, a hard drive or whatever after the fact. It's pretty easy to do, so I can understand if you want to do that. And it's the same with the next two as well. I have selected the 480GB version just because it is the cheapest one you can get. So this is the middle ground PC. Again, it's pretty much the same PC, but we are stepping up graphics wise. So it's a Ryzen 5 4500 processor. It's the GTX 1660 Super 6GB graphics card. Again, 16GB of RAM, 480GB SSD, Windows 11, Wi-Fi. Yes, it's again a VBox, don't know how to say it. We are just stepping up the graphics to the 1660 Super and the 480GB SSD. Again, you can select the terabyte if you would rather have that, and the price for that one is $624 rather than the $595 basically. That's what I would call middle of the road in terms of the 3 that I have selected. Again, all of these are budget, so like when I say middle of the road, it's not middle of the road in terms of PC, it's middle of the road in terms of my selection. I'm trying to keep all of these PCs budget orientated. They'll be able to play normal games, but what I'm saying is I'm trying to keep the budget as low as possible so the parts are on the lower end. You're not going to get any 3090s, 4090s, 3080s or any of that stuff in here because that wouldn't fit the budget really. That wouldn't fit the idea. This is the most expensive PC that I'm recommending for VR. I think this is a solid VR build. Again, it's the same PC basically, but we are switching out the graphics card for an RTX 3050 8GB graphics card. The RAM, the storage, the processor, that's all staying the same. I just think these are really good deal PCs, and I just happened across them today while I was looking for a recommendation for somebody, and I thought this company seemed to be selling some really good PCs for a really reasonable price that is hard to argue with, in my opinion. So £655 basically for a RTX 3050, capable of running VR, happily capable of running VR. And again, like I said, I've been through and made sure that the top games will be able to run on these PCs basically. And I have screenshots of all of those, and we will go through those at the end. Everybody's game choice is going to be different, so I've just chosen the sort of top most highly recommended, highly rated games. Now that we've been through all the UK PCs, we're going to move over to the US. So if you're from the US, these are PCs that are hopefully going to be available in your region. Again, the US is a big place and I don't have an address there, so I've done my best to do the research that I can. Our first US PC, we're looking at a Skytech Azure gaming PC. It's got a Core an Intel Core i3-10105F. I don't know if that's how you say it. That's just sounds bad when it comes out of the mouth. This has a GTX 1650, 500 gig NVMe SSD, 16 gig of RAM, 650 watt power supply, Windows 11, all that good stuff. So similar to our low end on the UK PC, and price wise, 650 it probably works out cheaper in pounds than it does dollars. Conversion rate, it would probably be roughly around the same price, but that doesn't matter because if you're in the US, you're gonna have to get a US PC rather than a UK one. Anyway, this is different to the UK one. We are running a 1650 here rather than the 1650 Super, but like I said, done my research. Coilwine has made a great video where he has tested a 1650 to ensure that it does run VR, and he seemed to have a good experience with it. And for $650, I think this is a perfectly reasonable price, really. And for a brand new PC that's going to be able to run VR, game normally, I think this is a good deal. On to our next PC, upping the budget slightly. So we're going for the Skytech Chronos Mini Gaming Computer PC Desktop. It's got a i5-10400F, a 1660, 1TB NVMe SSD, 16 gig of RAM, Windows 10. Okay, this is Windows 10 rather than 11, but that doesn't really matter. This is $756. It is on a deal right now, 15% off, so that's probably what is making it look good in this. And in terms of like a middle ground PC, this one was quite hard to find actually, because the next PC, the most expensive PC that I have to show you for the US, actually is the exact same price as a PC with this kind of spec. So it was kind of hard to recommend a middle of the range PC when the top of the range budget VR PC was the exact same price but with better hardware. But this actually is cheaper. So again, it's running a 10400F, so similar to what we were running in this one, but it's a i5 rather than i3. It's a bit more powerful graphics card, again a bit more powerful. We've gone for the 1660. It's got a bit more storage, that's just nice. Still 16 gig of RAM and all that. So again, I think this is a solid recommendation for $756. It's up to you really where your budget lies. Whether you're thinking in your head, oh, my budget's $700. Can you afford to stretch that extra 56? Can you save up for another month, 2 months, whatever it is? Because sometimes I think that is the best situation. You don't want to spend your budget when if you only had a little bit more, you'd be able to get something much better. On to our most expensive budget VR PC for the US. We have the Skytech Nebula Gaming PC. It's an i3-12100F. It's an NVIDIA RTX 3050, 500 gig SSD, 16 gig of RAM, 600 watt power supply, Windows 11. So this is kind of a combination of the last two, I guess, in a weird way. It's an i3 rather than an i5, but it is a 12th gen i3. We got the RTX 3050, which I think is a solid VR capable graphics card. And again, we're sticking with 16 gig of RAM, and we only have the 500 gig SSD. So it's something that you would probably want to add storage to down the line, but 500 gig is probably enough to stick a couple games on and have fun with at least. This is currently for sale at $899.99. Now that alone I thought was a good deal, and like I said, I found a middle of the road PC that had like a 1660 in it for the same price. So definitely would recommend this over that, because this is better. This is more performance, it is newer, it is better. But this also, right now at the recording of this video, has an apply $100 coupon. So that would mean that you get this for $799.99, which compared to this one for like an extra, what, $43? That is incredibly worth it in my opinion. So I don't know how long this is going to last, but yeah, if you can grab this PC even at the price it's at without the coupon, I think this is a solid deal. So that's all my PC recommendations. The video doesn't end right there just yet. The games that I looked at that were the top rated games on Steam for VR. So I looked at Gorilla Tag, very positive game. And it's in the name. It's like a tag game. Again, I looked at that, checked the spec of that, the spec of the Gorilla Tag. Again, I've been and looked through all these specifications, compared it to the PCs that I found, and made sure that they either meet the minimum or excel the minimum requirements so that they will be able to run these games. Second game, Half-Life Alyx, an absolute classic VR game, one of the best VR games out there, obviously overwhelmingly positively reviewed. And again, I've made sure to check over the specifications to make sure that these PCs will be able to run it. You might have to dial back the graphics, you might have to fiddle around with the graphics a little bit to find that sweet spot of where you're getting the best performance you can get. Next up, Beat Saber, an absolute classic again, obviously very positive. Quite a simple game to run, so this one doesn't concern me too much. Beat Saber can run natively on a Quest 2 anyway, but if you're looking to play Beat Saber on a PC VR headset, or maybe just a Quest 2 connected to your PC because you want to do modding on Beat Saber or something like that, again, you're going to be fine with these PCs. It is one of the easier games to run on VR. Now to Boneworks, again, a very positive, highly rated game, something that I've only recently actually played myself. Took a look at the specs, made sure to meet the minimum specs of that. It's looking for a quad core, which even the cheapest ones we looked at are quad core CPUs. Graphics card, again, we've compared those. Ones I have recommended are comparative to the ones that they're looking for on the minimum. And the final game that I looked at that was, again, highly positively rated and popular was Pavlov VR, which I believe is kind of like a CSGO style game in VR. Again, very positively rated, which means a lot of people are playing it, a lot of people enjoy it, so I want to make sure that I'm recommending a PC that majority of people might be playing this type of game on it. And again, it's looking for a quad core, 8 gig of RAM. So again, the PCs we're looking at, again, would be able to run this. And like I said before, I keep going back to mention this video I watched from Coilwine, but yeah, he personally tried Pavlov and managed to make it work and had a good experience using a 1650, which is the lowest graphics card that we looked at as well in these PCs. So that's my recommendation. I hope this has been helpful. I hope this video does as well as the first one did. I'm going to be honest. As always, whenever I make these videos, the PCs are available at the time I'm making them. Always happy for somebody to drop a comment, and I will reply to that comment and get back to you as soon as I can, and I will find a PC for you, for your budget, for what you need it for, whether one of these links has gone out and you're just looking for a replacement PC like that would be similar to this at a similar price or something. Please drop a comment. I'm always happy to reply to comments, and I do my best to reply to every single comment. I really do enjoy recommending PCs and trying to find out a PC that meets somebody's budget for the lowest possible price, because I've been there too. I'm there as well. Like, I want to get the best bang for my buck as I can. I want to get the best PC I can for my money. The best doesn't always just mean what's the best spec. It means, is it a reliable brand? Is it a brand that has good reviews? And again, that's something I've checked and looked up. I've done the research in making sure that headsets match up with the specs of the PCs that I'm looking at, the games match up with the specs of the PCs that I'm looking at, to make sure that these PCs I'm recommending to you for VR are good PCs for VR. So I hope this video has been useful. Like I said, if you do need any help or a specific recommendation, always hit me up in the comments. You can hit me up on Twitter, anywhere that you can get hold of me, basically, but the comments is probably the easiest. If you have anything specific you'd like to see me cover in a video that you think would be useful for me to cover in a video, then please drop me a message with that as well. I'm always happy to take your recommendations or your advice or your ideas on board when I make my videos. So thank you guys, and I will catch you next time. Bye!